Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Major Crash Review Task Force. We're meeting at 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, October 30th, 2019 at the District Department of Transportation on the 4th floor of 55 M Street Southeast. Looking at the sign-in sheet, we do have a quorum. We have 5 of our 6 voting members represented. The meeting minutes from last month's meeting were circulated before this meeting. I believe the group has reviewed them. Is there a motion to approve last month's minutes?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Great, so last month's meetings are approved. And then we do have a new non-voting attendee at the moment, Charlie, who has signed a non-disclosure form, so that's good. Is there a motion to vote for Charlie as a non-voting member of DDOT?
Is he like an alternative, maybe?
Could be an alternate for
For
one of you, yeah.
Me early on.
So yeah, what would we say, an alternate?
So then you could vote if like Linda wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, because we just vote on behalf of the agency.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
Okay.
Is there a motion to do that?
I move that we make Charlie, what was your last name?
Wilson.
Charlie Wilson a alternate voting member of the Major Crash Review Task Force.
A second.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? All right. I will update the record to reflect Charlie Wilson as an alternate for DDOT. Is there any other business anyone has before we move into a closed session? Okay, is there a motion to move into the closed session?
I'll move to move into the closed session.
I second.
Then we'll do the roll call. So, Sergeant Thorne.
Here, present.
Aye.
Aye.
Non-stressed.
Uh,
What's he calling?
Uptight.
Uptight.
DDOT, Linda Bailey.
Aye.
Okay, Leon's not here. Office of Planning, Kristen Calkins.
Aye.
Pedestrian Advisory Council, Eileen McCarthy.
Aye.
No one here from the Bicycle Advisory Council, Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council, Helen, is it Urquhart? Aye. And that's it. So we're going to move into a closed session now. The reason we're doing that is because we're going to specifically discuss details of major crashes, which have personally identifiable information and other sensitive material. They also may include images or details of a graphic nature that would violate personal privacy if this was not a closed meeting.
Actually, for you, Eileen,
Why
under.
didn't you ask me before?
All right, we're
Now you're on the record.
we're reopening to the open session, and just to restate, we went into the closed session because we were discussing sensitive material about crashes that involved personal information. So we're back to the open session.
I just realized I looked back at some minutes from earlier this year and realized that there was whole meetings where we just talked about the annual report, and I came in like right after that it all kind of concluded. So I just was wondering, and I know you wrote a lot of the annual report this year, that went out this year for theoretically last year. So for the next one, I just want to talk about when we want to put it out,
Yeah.
and working back from that, when do we have to make sure like we've gotten all the crashes? So just for example, for 2017, I was just saying I think we're close, 5 away or something from close, like actually going through everything in 2017.
Every fatal.
Every fatal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should at least get a list from MPD of the specials.
We have a
Sort of
list,
a run, I think, just kind of an overview of them. Maybe we can't look at them in detail.
Well,
But I'd
The
like
major
to-
crash
the basics.
spreadsheet has the ones that stayed a special.
Okay.
so we have the other thing has not progressed, but we had a study done of serious injuries as well as fatals by a separate contractor, just looking for
Is
patterns.
this Howard? Or?
Actually, one of those reports at least was done by Sam Schwartz, I believe. Sam
Okay.
Schwartz Engineering.
No, I'm just curious. It's okay.
Yeah, so regardless, because it's a new fiscal year now, it has to get re-signed, so it's probably inactive right now. But once we get it back, I'm wondering if we can do something that kind of brings these all together, so that we're looking at, like, fatals are obviously at the top, and then there's specials, and then there's all the things that are categories of serious injuries, and just like looking of these 3 different ones, what are the patterns within each one? Are they the same? Are they different? You know, like, and so I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to get them to use the same categories. Like, for example, for overnight period, they were using 9 to 3, and I was like, can we just use 8:30 to 4:30, which we just put out a report on, like, as the window, you know, things like that. So we can kind of agree on that, and then we can sync it up. So just going back to my first question, like, when would we ideally put that report out, and therefore when do we kind of need to start on it, and who's going to do it? I guess bigger question since you did it last year.
So I'll say
You volunteered.
I'm behind on writing up the templates because I've been traveling a lot, but I'm gonna try in the next month or 2 to get caught up and get them all and get them on the Dropbox that we have.
Okay.
I'm willing to work on the report again. If somebody else wants to take it on, I'm also happy to see that happen.
I don't know if
I
I'm
would
on the
think-
Dropbox. Can you add me to that?
It's not this is a weird thing. And David brought this up. It's Sam's Dropbox.
Yeah, it was Sam's.
Sam.
But we put
And
it
probably
on
still
Sam's
is.
because Sam tried to get like an official folder set up, but they said they couldn't put Helen, me, and David on it
Right, because
because
you're
we're
not within
outside.
DC, though.
So
We'll do it for money.
Is it-
Pay us, we'll
Does
do
the
it.
does the Dropbox need does it have some of this closed session information in it or not?
post session.
Just like
information?
drafts
It's
of what
my-
will be public.
Yeah,
the
and it's the
report.
templates.
So
are
it's
on it.
not
and then
confidential.
And then there's the spreadsheet that I was keeping.
Would it make sense to use Google Docs instead?
We could. I was gonna say we can either use Google Docs or we actually have something which I've been wondering about putting my toe in, and this might be a good reason to. We have actually the ability to create internal wiki pages that anyone can access, and so that might be an easier way to also put the document
Anyone?
together potentially.
Anyone, or anyone who's given access?
Let me talk to people who are specialized in that and find out if that makes more sense, or if we should just use Google Docs, which is fine. Like, I have a Google Docs
So do
government
Yeah.
folder. And just do that
I
there.
can try to send you a link to the Dropbox.
We can
That's
get
fine. That's
we can
fine.
get
Let's-
everything out
once
of there
we figure
too.
out, once we figure out where we want to put it, well, we'll just move it over. For
But you
this
need to have
next one.
access to do that.
Well,
or
I'm not
some-
going to do it, but
Oh,
Jonathan
okay.
can, right?
Yeah.
Jonathan, you're still.
Yeah.
I have access to it. Like,
Yeah, I think a few of
Okay,
us
okay.
do.
Um,
We can contact Sam if necessary.
I'm sure he's willing to help with it, but let's try and. He probably is logged onto that under his old email or something. Who knows? I guess you can't really use Dropbox. I mean, I will say technically we're not encouraged to use Dropbox.
Yeah.
Well, government agencies should not, as a former government lawyer,
You should not
we
use
would
Google
advise
Dropbox.
government agencies not to use things like Dropbox or even Google Docs because they make you sign a
NDA.
NDA.
Well, that's the nice thing about our wiki
Not NDA,
page.
an indemnity, an indemnity agreement.
Right, it's technically you're not supposed to.
Yeah, yes.
Well,
We
for
have
some, we have a.
access specifically
Yeah.
through our, so like they have a
We have some
compendium
arrangement for
that's
DC
specific
DACA.
for district government Google. So like I sign in through my DC email,
Right.
so I'm not signing through personal email. It's like my kristen.calkins@dc.gov has an associated Gmail account that has the G Suite, so I can use spreadsheets,
Okay.
documents, things like that. So it's not logging in through anything personal, creating a special email account. There's a whole like
And I do have I have a government email. I don't know if David and Helen do, but somebody could, I can't get you on, but somebody could get you on.
Well, let me talk with them about the best way to do it.
DC
and we'll,
government email.
I'm leaning
think I
right
have
now
one.
toward Google Docs, but like I said, I've been wanting to dip my toe in the wiki, and if it seems like that might be helpful, because maybe we can put things up that are, because one of the nice things about wikis versus Google Docs is it doesn't all have to be like files, like Google Docs is all gonna be in a file basically.
Yeah.
So, but let me talk with them about it and see if it makes sense to try and do a wiki for this.
I will say I start these on Google Docs and I start them with just public information so I can share it with the PAC.
I see.
And then when we come to, in theory, what I try to do with these is I try to create the template first, the public version based upon all the information I can find without talking to MPD. So
I
that
see.
I know I've got all public information, then I take it and I download it and turn it into a Word doc.
And that's
And I
fill
filled
in
it
the
in based on
non-public.
this, and then that goes on the Dropbox. So we have a non-public
Okay.
version and a public version.
okay. So So the TBD items, we still don't know a date. I guess we should figure out when we want that to
When
be.
did we
and
put out this one?
I mean, we were
We were late.
done with it months before it was published and like transmitted to
Yeah.
council.
Because, and some of that was me not knowing what the heck I was doing.
It's also-
Transmittal process, and some of it was getting back like 10
It also
questions that
went
were
through
just
IQ.
all over the place. I haven't answered
When,
them.
when did I set,
I feel like it was like in April or something. Is that possible, or
I
May?
could find out. I can't remember.
First order of business for me is to get the templates done that I haven't got done and get them posted where we're gonna.
And when you use the template, you're saying what goes in the appendix, because that's kind of, there's a write-up and age crash in the appendix. Is that what
Yeah,
you
I actually
did?
write it up from the template, but that's the template, the current template.
I mean, like in some
And I can
respects,
certainly add questions.
like we started the first report covers mostly what we did in a calendar year.
Right.
So
I feel like we didn't do nearly as much this calendar year because of the fact that we were working on the report
Right.
as well.
Yeah,
Well,
and I
that's
think-
that's kind of like, I do think there's some crashes we could review on paper. If we could get them to give us something.
Well, the problem is they don't want to give us like the case file,
Yeah.
so we kind of have to
But
go
we,
through it.
we
and
did
try
talk
and do
about
more.
their closure memos. And the Lieutenant Wilkins brought one at one point.
Well, let's
Yeah.
look at the list and see how far we are getting through all 2017 and also 2018.
Yep.
So I don't know. I know they kind of went back because we said we want to finish 2017. I don't know if that's why they're holding off on 2018 or if a lot of those are still open. Like, I don't know at this point.
So
Yeah.
probably are a lot there still.
Probably, yeah.
They actually, they still, I don't remember if you remember this, but like in June, I asked them about a woman who was out, had been convicted, was out on a bench warrant. Yeah, and she's still out on the bench warrant.
Wow.
so the,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Yeah. So
Probably
Okay.
horrific.
there's
Well,
definitely
okay.
not. They haven't received declinations for probably
Yeah,
a lot
right,
of them.
right, right. Okay.
We could next meeting ask them, let's sit down with the spreadsheet and go over the status.
Yep.
Well, but let's do this. Let's set up a timeline when we'd like to release it. I mean, to me, ideally, we'd be releasing it in like February, so we'd like have all the information by the end of this year, and then be writing it and then release it in February. Ideally. Maybe it'll be easier the second time.
Yeah, we have
Um,
we're satisfied that we have a template.
And then that means we kind of have to have, or start putting together some of the pieces that we can before that.
We,
And then,
like we can aim for that, and it'll just be a matter of how many crashes are included.
Yeah.
Like we can try and hit that date, and it just might be more or less
I mean, the one thing is
sample
like,
size.
I
Like,
kind of feel like it wouldn't be bad to go back and like reevaluate our conclusions about 2017 with the full
Absolutely.
crash set.
I was just gonna ask about how we want, because we did the first report, right, which was 1 year, but we can have a conversation about how we wanna do continuing reports and whether or not they're each standalone reports, or if it's like a continuing building upon, we have now reviewed 3 years worth of crash data, and this is our thought, because I actually think that would probably be more effective,
Yeah, I think
rather
that's-
than
It's more
trying to do
accurate.
standalone years
I
of
think
like,
that's
well, in
right.
this
'Cause they're
year,
not-
we got this weird snapshot and this, and that way we
Yeah.
can still keep a lot of it, and we can just,
And we just add to it and
and
say,
we say, you know,
last year we talked about these
Mhm.
crashes, the new
The-
crashes
the-
we have fit this.
The trend continues, or
Right.
it doesn't, or
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
And we may see new, like, we've seen more we didn't see any hit and runs last year, we
Right.
saw, we're seing hit and runs this year. And not that they happen.
Well, and
And
there's
they
so
happen
few
in the
bike
same
crashes
year.
that it may take
Yeah.
many years before we develop trends among
but
bike
I also
crashes.
think it's easier, because then we don't have to recreate a frame
So,
around
Yeah.
everything,
Mhm.
and it's,
Well, so a couple things. I like the idea of continuing and kind of building on our frame. I think the one thing I would like to add, and I guess I was hinting at with this discussion of this other report that Sam Schwartz is doing on serious injuries, is comparing what we're finding to other injury crash patterns. So just so everybody's clear, we have technically, I guess, 4 categories now, like of anything that involves human injury, right? So setting aside fender benders, we have injury crash, like minor injury, doesn't go to hospital kind of thing. What we call serious crash, which typically means transport to the hospital. Then we have specials, which are like likely or critical injuries, let's say, and then fatals. So right now we've only been looking at fatals, and I do kind of wonder how that compares across, because these all have,
It's the same thing we've been saying for a while.
Mm-hmm.
so I'd like to bring that in as another factor of what we report on this year and talk about it as findings, because I think that'll help us get a sense of a broader thing and just add another aspect.
I think we did that
Okay.
a little bit last year, because we tried, like, you know, we said, when we talked about impairment, we looked at sort of the broader data on impairment. And
Right.
brought that, you know, that it's consistent with the broader data.
Right, no, that's great.
So, so you're following the same principle, and I think the more context we can give it, the better.
Injury crash context, okay.
The other thing, you know, we talked about, I don't know if you guys are looking at this, but we've talked about this before, is like, you know, there's property damage crashes that are fender benders, and there's property damage crashes that could have killed someone, but for the fact that nobody was there to be killed and the driver was protected by the
It's hard to
box. You know, it's like,
define that,
if somebody overturns their car in Pennsylvania Avenue into a bus stop, or in Connecticut Avenue, because I know it's happened there, into a bus stop. There's nobody at the bus stop, so nobody dies, but.
Well, like the crash on Pennsylvania Avenue, where the two people were on the bench, right? Like if that bench had been empty, it wouldn't have been.
Mhm.
Bench
it would have been-
damage.
Yeah, it would have been bench damage, yeah.
No, I mean, it definitely happens all the time, I mean, that's the,
But I don't know if there's.
That's a
way to
challenge.
get it-
I mean,
get it
I don't know. Unless
I don't know,
it's-
unless you keep track of like how often a car moves onto the sidewalk area, right? Not every crash it moves into pedestrian areas, right?
Well, I think, and didn't MPD say that they might have data on overturning?
We were tracking that like anecdotally, like on Twitter, basically,
We had a
and
turnover
and,
right in front of our
right.
building here.
like alerts from like HCMA, like that kind of stuff. We
So
didn't really follow through with it, but
I know we're interested in hit and run,
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't had a
And then,
chance to talk about what to do.
PDO on sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm just called that, and then vehicle overturns. I mean, to me the problem with PDO is you also have like, so actually at hit and runs is a big thing. A lot of people hit parked car
Right.
and then drive off, which is like not great, but like okay, you know, whatever.
So it need to be hit and run when injury? So it need to be like
just
a type of
exclude.
right?
Well, you can just when you talk about hit and run, you can just exclude property damage only.
Yeah.
Or we can say, you know, there are this many hit and runs, this many were property damage only, and we're not considering them, but
Yeah.
it's something,
Well,
you know.
Let me look at it, because the one thing with all this stuff is like I gotta get this other contract going and get them working on it.
And maybe we put off this until the next year. But this year
Potentially, yeah.
we concentrate on.
The nice thing is if we do keep it tighter to just building what we already did, is like we can definitely meet the timeline and then maybe set new goals for it. So I definitely want to do that. So you're gonna work on,
I'm gonna work on doing the
those.
templates, and I
and then we'll
I'll
have
have a
them
lot
all
of time to devote. in
and
the
we'll
next
we'll
few
find a
weeks.
place for them to go, and then I'll talk with the people working with that contract, because I know they're trying to get back online like every year. We're gonna have to do that after the fiscal year starts. So if that's back online, we can get them working on some pieces, or if it's gonna not work out time-wise, and then we'll get back to you on the home for all the documents for when we're really drafting. But I guess I would say, so we have 2 more meetings before the end of the year. I think we should try and push through and do as many more crashes as we can and try and finish 2017 if we can, basically. And then just kind of move from there, and maybe in January, our first meeting, we can do a review of where we are on all the documents as part of the meeting.
Yeah.
And then try and just finish it for the February meeting if we can really
And maybe we can, like, if we know what our findings are gonna be, once we sort out what the findings are, and they'll probably mirror last year, and maybe have new ones, maybe we can then look at the specials from 2017 and see where they fit. Not look at them in any detail, but just see where they fit. Which would mean, basically, we just need to know time of day they occurred, and whether there was impairment involved, whether it was speeding, and maybe driver history, which I can try to trace with,
Right.
if I can get the names.
Yeah.
So I tweeted this, but the NTSB is doing a bicycle safety study, and the report comes out next week. I think the meeting on it is on November 5th.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
the speed study and the pedestrian safety study were pretty good. I'm gonna try to go to the meeting.
You can also watch it on webcast.
Yeah.
And
I can, but if I go
testified
to the
once.
meeting, you can talk to the staff.
That's true, yeah. I tried to reach out to somebody on that, I don't think I heard
They're
back
not
then.
very good about responding to emails, is my experience. They might.
It's all gonna
maybe
be for you. Be probably suit. No, they are an interesting bunch. I could reach out to no, what's her name? Bella
Bella Dinzar.
Dinzar, yeah.
think-
Yeah. We had her come speak with us.
Ivan is the other, Ivan
Ivan Chung
Chung,
is really good,
who,
yeah.
I think
Yeah,
he may
I-
have interviewed
Bella's
DDOT
gone.
for the bike
She's not
study
on
too.
anymore.
Who is?
Bella.
Oh,
She's not
okay.
on anymore, and my understanding is she's like traveling the world. So.
Okay, good for her. Okay, so maybe Ivan we can reach out to. Irene.
Their like PR person is Leah Walton, I think is her last name, but
Okay,
she's
well,
very
why don't
nice if you can corner her in person, but getting a response from her by email is sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
They're just busy.
Yeah. Well, why don't
And
you
then
report
the-
back on that?
Yeah,
Let's see.
and then the Tempe, they're doing the Tempe crash 2 weeks later, Uber pedestrian crash. They're gonna make
That's gonna be a big
findings
deal.
on that,
And do we know if, I was reminded because John Townsend was quoting from the super old DDOT speed study that Howard did also, I think that's on our website, but it's like from 2010 or 2007 or something. So I feel like that's another, like we
can
keep
we
talking.
take that off our website?
Well, yeah,
I don't know. I kind of had to.
Be
I couldn't
another
deal with him that day.
ne-
yeah.
yeah.
Is
It's
the major
just-
crash report up on the website?
Oh, it's not up there.
It's so hard to find when you Google it right now. You have to.
If
Yeah.
it is, I
find the-
can't find it.
It's easier to
I-
find in limbs.
I found it once,
Okay.
and it was like
I
in the
can-
mayor's transmittal to
Good
council.
job.
Yeah.
Well, you
Um,
can find it
can
on the
you-
council
Put it
website.
somewhere
yeah,
prominent.
but
Figure out
it's
where you
like
wanna
an
put it,
unreadable PDF,
Sure.
And then
yeah,
email
you
Laura.
can't search it or.
It can be on the DC Vision Zero.
I feel like-
put it on the
Yeah.
DC Vision.
You know, like trying to look at whatever different universe of crashes and like whether we look at the specials or the property damage or like the almost could have been bads like sidewalk overturn or something that like just the speed study might speak to that, like
Yeah.
because it's like the potential of bad things happening, but we don't have that data from any relevant time frame.
We have the thing about speeds is we actually have really good speeds we buy and we pay for
Right.
in NREX, and I'm not
Mm.
super familiar with that tool, but we have it.
That's
So
true.
It's so when you're driving down the street right now with your, or if you drive down the street with your phone, it like sells, your phone company basically sells your data of how fast you're going or where you're going.
Okay.
If
It's
you
a-
really check that.
They
An
ping it.
agglomerator named NREX.
The spy.
There's
And
a
then
couple of them.
NREX collects it all and says like, that's how when you go on Google Maps and it shows you that the beltway is red,
Travel time.
it
Okay.
it's gathering all that data from. I feel like there's at least 2 middleman companies actually.
Yeah.
Even for Google, like Google doesn't do their own or whatever. Anyway, but bottom line, we buy that data, which tells us things like what is the speed on Florida Avenue, and they collect speed data from everybody's phone. They agglomerate it.
So
it's-
that could be a really
bit of a
interesting
sausage.
tidbit to include.
It could like support, it's like we have this
Okay.
finding of these kind of roads at this time of night, and it's like, well, the speed data says, yeah, speeds are way higher at this time of night, so it's actually like not an anomaly. Like one of these cars, if it crashes, is gonna be a serious injury. Like,
Right. If you're going 70 on Florida, bad things will likely happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's highly probable.
Or at least you're putting one people at risk. I saw a webinar a few months ago where it was more like on highway, but this person was talking about how you have those white thingies on the side of the road on highways that mark the
Mhm.
miles.
Oh yeah.
That one of the ways they slowed down speeds, and I forget where this was that they started putting them closer
Hmm.
together so that people thought they were going faster.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's
Like
made them
whizzes by.
psychologically slow down.
That's like with the zigzag
Yeah.
pavement markings, like the.
Maybe that's what maybe it wasn't that, because you wouldn't remove those, but maybe it was something like that there were some paper markings they had, and they just made them closer together so people thought they were going faster and slowed down.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
many weird
cool.
things.
Yeah. So the NREX data. So we'll look at ways to add that. Okay. So we're gonna work on a place to put documents and a couple other things here, and we'll talk through the process where we are the next meeting and a little bit also at the end.
And when I get, at least a few more templates up, I'll send a link to everybody to where they are.
Okay.
You know, it's the same what Dropbox folder, but
Okay.
just.
Right.
Sounds good.
So,
Alright, guys.
any new business that we didn't just talk about?
I told you I put, that theoretically at least they're gonna put Bridget on the, not Bridget, but DMV on the Division Zero bill as a
Oh, great.
official
Yeah.
member.
Nice.
Great.
Okay.
Maybe I'll show up.
Yeah. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Nabs.
Thanks.